Ross Thomson.
Very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, and as someone who actually represents, I hope, the young people of the next generation, I don't share that pessimism, because the great Brexit prize will be regaining our ability to strike new free trade deals across the world. Not only will Britain rejoin the rest of the world, but it will have the opportunity to lead the rest of the world as a global free trading nation, championing trade liberalisation and taking on the voices of protectionism. So let us be clear that we are not leaving Europe or turning our backs on our European neighbours and partners. Rather, the Prime Minister has been explicit that the government is seeking a deep and comprehensive trade deal with the EU that covers goods as well as services. By leaving the customs union, the UK will regain its ability to set its own independent trade policy. Our trade with the EU is in deficit and declining. As the Minister stated in opening, it was 56% in 2006, now down to 43% today. And while our trade with the rest of the world is actually in surplus and rising. Now, we shouldn't play down the importance of Europe as a trading market and partner, but we must orientate ourselves towards the thriving economies in the rest of the world, such as South and East Asia, and their growing demand for goods and services. 57% of Britain's exports are now to outside of the EU, compared with only 46% in 2006. And further, the IMF estimate that in the next 10 to 15 years, 90% of global economic growth will originate from outside the EU. Now, international demands for British goods is growing, and Aberdeen, which I represent, is well placed to take advantage of this, where 90% of manufacturing in the city gets exported, mainly in oil and gas and in environmental engineering, because the oil and gas industry is a truly global one, which is anchored right here in the UK. And current industry exports account for 43% of the UK supply chain turnover in 2017, which is up from 41% in 2016. And Oil and Gas UK's Vision 2030 has the ambitious aim of doubling the supply chain share of the global market from 3.7% to 7.4% in 2035. Now, the Balmoral Group, which is based in my constituency, is just an example of this. They were established back in 1980, and they specialise in subsea buoyancy, renewable energy and also engineering solutions. And they employ around about 500 people in Aberdeen. And they are highly dependent on the export market, and they're currently focusing on West Africa, South America and the Gulf of Mexico. And they have been so clear with me that their only opportunity for growth is in the export market. And I know that they've already been working very closely with the Department for International Trade on trying to exploit those opportunities. And it's actually thanks to the investment from the UK government that the Oil and Gas Technology Centre in my constituency was set up, and they are working with the oil industry in developing solutions, new technology and innovation to maximise the full potential of the UK North Sea, from asset integrity to maximising recovery in small pools, from drilling to decommissioning. And the technology that is developed right in my own constituency of Aberdeen is exportable, and the opportunities are massive. The North East is also home, as my colleague for Banff and Bucking highlighted, is a home to a thriving food and drink industry, and it's known also for its whisky exports. And now the story of whisky is well known, and perhaps a less told story is that of our other domestic exports. And here are just a few examples. In fishing, we've got companies like Macduff Shellfish, Denham Seafoods, Lunar Freezing, who are exporting to countries such as Nigeria, China, Vietnam, Uruguay and Ukraine. Yes, I'll take an intervention.
The honourable gentleman for giving way. During the EU referendum campaign, the honourable gentleman was pictured outside the Scottish Parliament with a placard saying, vote leave to bring control of our fishing back to the democratically elected Scottish Parliament. Will he be recirculating that image?
I'm very grateful to the honourable member for raising that, as is so clear. We are leaving the European Union, taking back control of our waters for over 200 nautical miles, giving us the opportunity to rejuvenate our coastal communities. We are supporting Scottish fishermen, the party that want to sell them down the river back to Brussels, handing all those powers right back and keeping them trapped within the confines of the common fisheries policy is every single member of the SNP. I'll take no lectures from the benches opposite on the benefits of Brexit for fishermen. Potatoes, Mr Deputy Speaker, is also no thank you. I'd like to make some progress, given I've only got 3 minutes. Companies in Aberdeen, such as Saltire Seeds and Alan Twat, are exporting seed potatoes to Thailand, Egypt, Israel, Saudi Arabia and Brazil. And these are just some examples of what is happening in my region. Now, there is a huge interest, naturally. Sorry, would you like to...
Thank you. I'm grateful to the Honourable Member for giving way. He's talking about the economy. Does he believe the figures that the UK Government have produced about the hit to GDP from leaving the EU? Does he believe it?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. No, because the figures that have been produced, I will be clear, the figures that have been produced are not based on what the Prime Minister has said herself she wants to achieve, which is a deep and special relationship with Europe. None of those are based on that assumption. So there are huge opportunities for Aberdeen and the wider North East to use our competitive advantage to service the benefits of Brexit. We must set our sights on the future, a new global future. It would not be in our interests or the EU's interests to see any unnecessary restrictions on trade. I am confident that the Prime Minister will deliver a new partnership, a bespoke partnership, which will support our mutual interests. The UK is the world's 5th largest economy, the 5th largest exporter and the 2nd greatest soft power. Our worldwide presence is reinforced by our global brands, our creative industries and the reputation of our universities. Britain is truly global, and we must be ambitious to maximise the golden Brexit trade opportunities that lie ahead of us. Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I want to start by talking about the approaching constitutional crisis that this government is threatening